Hi everyone, I'm Gina Minardi and I'm a licensed therapist who got fed up with therapy. This is a one-woman show about my journey of finding the spaces between non-traditional approaches of healing. What I learned is that there's no one right way to heal, and you truly are your best resource. Therapists and healers are meant to support you on your path, but they don't have all of the answers. You do. This show is about the spaces between laughter, tears, thoughts, ego, soul, messy growth, and moments of joy. It's about personal liberation, inner knowing, and the tools that get you there. I will cover topics that make many of us uncomfortable and interviewing people who are willing to go there. I've spent thousands of hours listening to human beings navigate their life story, from rehabs in Malibu to homeless shelters in East LA, and now my private practice. It has been some of the most profound, painful, and beautiful moments in my life. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi friends, how are you doing today? If you're listening to this, and it's probably going to air right before Thanksgiving, so I'm sending you some holiday love because I know a lot of individuals are really nervous about COVID and seeing family. So, interestingly enough, those nerves and anxiety have lovingly joined me today for this episode, as it feels very vulnerable to share what I'm about to. Part of me is really hesitant and doesn't want to share this, as the experience feels connected to my soul, and wonders if sharing it taints the experience and personal transformations and even some of the truths exposed from it. But as life and the universe works, or at least what I believe, I was randomly, or not so randomly, flipping through my journal, and I opened up to this page, I shit you not. And the title was Ego versus Soul, January 29th, 2020. My client tonight said, "What if what I write and put out into the world is met with indifference or dislike? That will be so painful for me, Gina. It will undermine how important and special it is to me. I couldn't handle that." I asked her to read me what she wrote from my prompt in the previous session. Tears started streaming down my face as she read, and she saw it. She had touched me so deeply. Her words were profound and pure poetry. My soul was touched by our shared humanity and the difficulty in being human. She ended with, "Sometimes I just want to give up on life and helping the world because it's all too overwhelming." And I took a deep breath in that moment, and I wiped my tears when she said this. So on that note, actually, before I keep going, I really want to thank my clients. So if any of you are listening right now, you are my teachers, because you hold up a big ass mirror for me to also look at my shit. Even though I'm helping you sift through yours, I'm eternally grateful. Okay, so 2020. What a catastrophic, mind-bending, and emotionally explosive year for all of us. All humans have had vastly different experiences navigating this year. But the one thing that has made this a hugely different event is that we are all globally experiencing something together. Never in history can that be said. That our breath and tiny particulates could spread from country to country, shutting down economies, forcing people inside their homes, inside their minds, into hospitals, and lighting up political revolutions. So I wrote this another night in my journal. You're noticing a theme here on spaces between. And I apologize if some of you have heard this before on Instagram, but I wanted to share for those who are not on social media. Okay, so here I go. Dear 2020, a friend texted me last night. "Life is just so strange right now, G." That it is, I thought to myself, and this year has been one for the books. 2020 is the year that I learned to face and sit with my pain. Physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual. Even as a therapist, I never truly understood the meaning of that. looking at it in the eyes, having breakfast with it, and then saying goodbye, knowing it will knock on my door from time to time because that is the nature of life. It's the year I learned the value and privilege of my breath. The breath that has carried me through feeling the collective waves of grief, panic, depression, rage, and anxiety that has permeated the air. A pandemic, protests of voices screaming to be heard, Black Lives Matter, fires. I can't breathe. When will we all learn that we breathe together? Repressed trauma, fear, private thoughts, and behaviors impact one another and the collective whole. In Chinese medicine, grief is represented in the lungs. They are responsible for taking in the new and letting go of the old, the constant cycle of life. We are grieving an old way of being, our disconnection, lack of appreciation, skewed morality, and greed. You can feel the sadness and deep disappointment of our Mother Earth, shaking her finger at us. We have been sent to our rooms to watch the entitlement of America on TV. I don't want to wear a mask, like toddlers throwing tantrums when you try to put sunscreen on their face. But sweetie, you will get burned. We are on fire, dismantling systemic racism, white privilege, ego, power, patriarchy, corrupt politicians, global warming. But as Jack Kornfield says, we are going through a birthing process. It's painful and also awe-inspiring to witness the contractions, dedicated pushing, breaths, bloodshed, and stillness in between. A release of breath with the mystery of new life coming through. Together, we are attending a birth that may be incredibly messy, but hopefully the birth of a new world. Attend it with love, presence, and a peaceful heart. Plant seeds of goodness, wise speech, action, and truth, because the world doesn't need more hate, fear, ignorance, and confusion. You are loving awareness. This was born into you. So now I'm going to rewind into my personal experience of life forcing me into complete surrender and to slow the fuck down. March 11th. I had just gotten off of a plane from Costa Rica to LAX with two of my best girlfriends who truly get after life. We had surfed our faces off, rode horses so fast on the beach, I couldn't tell if I was exhilarated or partly terrified that I could potentially break every bone in my body, but all in all, feeling incredibly alive. But upon arriving back to LAX, it felt like the wind had been knocked out of our sails, or the air had been sucked out of the international baggage section of LAX. Anxiety permeated the air. COVID was knocking at the door in the US, and everybody wanted to run and jump under their covers with all of their toilet paper. So I got home and I told my boyfriend and his best friend Kip, who was visiting, how epic the trip was, but that I was exhausted from drinking too much and being kept awake in the jungle for days with a full moon and ambient noises that vibrate at a very different frequency than the city. I woke up the next day exhausted, like crazy exhausted. I thought about calling off my sessions, but I had already taken 10 days off from seeing my clients. But my first session was a FaceTime, and thank God it was, so I didn't see anybody else in person that day. In the middle of it, I said, I am so sorry to do this, but I have to end the session. I feel really anxious and out of sorts. I didn't tell her that I was actually feeling fucking delusional and I couldn't see straight. I have never done this in the 10 years of being a therapist. I felt embarrassed that I couldn't pull it together. I called people and everyone just kept saying to me, Gina, you just went hard on your trip. You didn't sleep. You partied. That's what you do. Sleep and chill out. Then my partner Jonas and his best friend fell ill the next day, which then turned into weeks of sleeping, sweating, and awful sensations in our lungs. Our house was surreal. The conversations we were having, everyone holding their chests, waking up at 3 a.m. because we were having a hard time breathing and sleeping, it all just kind of felt like a bad dream, but then at the same time was this incredible space of connection and evolution and deep conversations. So fast forward to a journal entry on April 5th, the first of 3 days in silence that I decided to go into because I couldn't emotionally handle feeling this sick anymore. It made me think of my mom, who battled cancer for a year, and those who deal with chronic illness, and I was having a breakdown after 4 fucking weeks, but I had never experienced anything like this. April 5th, 2020. This is the journal entry. My fingernails are long. I always keep them short. I never thought my white robe would become my second skin. I've lost 12 pounds. I am oddly tan because all I do is lay in my bed or my backyard to get vitamin D, imagining that the vitamin D is killing whatever is inside of me. I'm tired of new symptoms developing as old ones wash away. My chest and my lungs hurt. There is still too much blood in my mucus, and I'm tired of talking about the fucking coronavirus. I'm tired. Yesterday, I decided to let go and feel my suffering and pain, to make space with it and breathe into it. I needed to reconnect and feel my grief, and I felt it intensely. I needed to let go of my past pain, people who have hurt me deeply, people I have tried so hard to forgive, but there is a clench in my heart and a roar in my ego when you bring up their name. Their lack of boundaries, their victimhood, their lack of accountability and honesty. But you are so angry, Gina. You have a deep need to be right, to control your external environment, or how people behave when they behave badly or dishonestly towards you. But you are watching your ego dissolve. You are witnessing a transformation in yourself. You decided to stop getting all of the IV treatments, supplements, and just surrender. To go deep into silence, not trying to figure this out or control it or get rid of the symptoms, just to be, just to breathe. What will be, will be. So I turned off my phone. I've stopped texting people back who lovingly ask, "How are you doing, Gina?" I'm still really sick, but I'm hanging in there. I'm pulling out of the story to find the space within. The space that is so delicious when you can actually get in there. The space that feels the most connected to self or lack of self and connected to all beings, to the great unknown, to God, to the universe, or whatever you feel like calling it. You still don't know what to call it, Gina. So I repeat this. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from suffering. May I be at ease. But that's not working. So I repeat this. I am healthy. I am strong. I am grounded. I am calm. And now this keeps playing over and over in my mind. It never hurts to see the goodness in someone. Suffering is part of this incarnation as well as beauty and joy. We can water different seeds of the mind: peace, joy, anger, hatred. Meditation is like a mirror of your life. To be more present and less automatic. Let me find a relationship with these. The breath is a vehicle to tune ourselves, to connect body and mind, to let go and bring a certain openness. Transformation is the art of compassion. You are moving through heartbreak, Gina. The heartbreak of your mom not fully seeing you, thinking you are good enough because she couldn't fully see it in herself. But you loved her so deeply. And deep down, you know how intensely she loved you. But honoring the heartbreak of externally seeking out feeling good enoughness and specialness outside of yourself and in relationships with others. But to be in your power, you must love Gina and your soul regardless of what other people say about you, how they behave, or what they perceive. Knowing my own goodness, good enoughness, I don't need to prove myself or my truth. Let go, let go, let go. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And if you're still with me, I'd like to read something that I also wrote in my journal in this time. And I wrote it actually previously from a talk with Tara Brock. So she says, "We all have a longing to live from love. The big inquiry is, how do we experience the intensity of what is happening and be able to have, in the midst of it, the courage to feel what's going on and open our hearts?" And what energizes you on the spiritual path is remembering that this matters, that this is what matters right now, that through all of this, whatever is going on, inconvenience to sickness, to death, to financial devastation, what matters is, can we relate with a quality of real presence and compassion inwardly and to our world? That's what's going to transform life on earth. So we start with that inquiry with recognizing the universal tendency to react from fear. Because when life is scary and it feels out of control, the most immediate reflex comes from our survival brain, reacts way quicker than our more recently evolved brain. It's limbic hijack. We get this spike of fear. It can kind of feel like a seizure. The word worried comes from the word strangle. This reaction is speedier than a more evolved response. Recognize that we are in good company. It's part of our human wiring. Well, what else is possible? We shift to a more wakeful kind of presence, when instead of seeking distraction, we pause, get quieter, deepen attention. And when we do that, we start to activate the prefrontal cortex. We start activating parts of the brain that correlate with mindfulness, with compassion. We start perceiving connection. Oh, we are all in this. Our heart softens with that, and our response to life becomes more caring and loving than the tightness of fear. How many of you feel that this year has brought you closer with others? That there is more connection. We are not as much on automatic. We are slowing down. There is more vulnerability and tenderness. Remember how much people matter to us, because who knows? When we are not sure if people are going to go on for forever. When the ground shakes, something does wake up in many of us. All awakening comes out of that sacred pause. We interrupt our habitual patterns that are often fear-based. Then we have the option to respond versus react, pausing and being with our inner life. The wave of the ocean belongs. You want to find the fear in the body. Where am I feeling this? How does it feel? It helps put your hand where you felt it. Attention is often so distractible. And as you continue investigating, the touch brings in the gentleness and makes the healing possible. Some come into the body and feel it. Our issues are in our tissues. You have to feel what's there. What does this vulnerable place need most? Fear always needs some form of safety and love. I just need to accept that this is here, whatever the emotion is. You belong. It's okay that you're here. We have to be rooted in our vulnerability and our bodies to feel compassion for ourselves and others. So as I wrap this up, you guys, and again, thank you for listening. I wrote some questions that maybe you could journal about if you so desire. How did you surrender in 2020? What was forced upon you? Unwillingly and also willing choices that transformed spaces in your life. What are you still struggling with? What can you bring stillness, breath, and space to? Also, if you are fortunate enough to have food, clean water, a home, and family friends to support you, how can you bring appreciation to that and gratitude towards that? On a last note, when I say that last one, I am not negating the disastrous impact of 2020 that it's had on people's mental health. I have felt it myself, and I've also witnessed it in full mental breakdowns with my clients, hospitalizations, and listening to the deep grief of those lost from suicide this year. This is an extremely charged time where we need to support ourselves first and foremost and each other. It's a time of coming together with active participation and love. So right now, I'm sending you all love wherever you are. Hi, friends. If you have been enjoying Spaces Between, please take a moment to subscribe, and leaving a review is the cherry on top. Thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.